Hey, how's everybody doing today? Uh, Happy Sunday. So that's actually the topic I wanted to talk about today in this recording is Sunday. Just so happens that today is Easter Sunday, uh, and many of you out there that say that you're Christians are celebrating what you call the resurrection of Christ on this day. Um, there's a few questions that I have for you if you follow that idea um, about Easter being a celebration of Christ's resurrection 2,000 years ago, and if you think that well, Christ's resurrection happened at this time of the year, well, I hate to break it to you, but you're serving the wrong God. Um, you don't even realize what the Bible talks about. The very Bible that you worship, that you've idolized and set as an idol, uh, just like a golden calf. Um, Many of you worship that book more than you do the actual Creator, the Godhead, the Father, the one that actually created everything. Um, See, even in that book that many of you idolize, um, it makes mention in there about how Satan, and there's many different translations, but uh, basically refers to Satan will appear to you as a uh, angel of light, a child of light, a child of God. There's many different interpretations, but um, what's interesting to me is a majority of quote unquote Christians these days, and this is going on for a while, and even I, in my ignorance, back in my youth, before I became aware of the truth, uh, thought this because that was this. This is the teachings that are being taught in the churches, in the quote unquote churches, um, but it's contrary to the truth. Um, Let me ask you a question. So today is Sunday. How is Sunday spelled? Is it Sonday or is it Sunday? Have you ever considered when words sound alike, in fact, when words sound identical, um, that they might possibly have the exact same meaning, but of course, using poetry and creative writing, we can create allegories with words that sound like. And so when people don't realize the truth, that's right before their faces. For many of you, if you would actually take your face out of the book and look into nature, look into the creation that you all refer to, that God created this place, God created everything. But for some reason, many of you have been taught, well, not for some reason, that's kind of being sarcastic. Many of you have been taught that this is the devil's place, this is Satan's realm. And so, unfortunately, many of you are serving the wrong God. If you actually look at the history of the Bible, the Old Testament came from the Jewish writings of old, and the New Testament was written by, well, some of the apostles and uh, some of the other supporting characters in the story. But unfortunately, many of you have really no clue what the stories mean because you take them verbatim. Um, you read them, and you, instead of looking at them as allegories, you think that they're telling true tales of people that did this and did that, and whether or not there was a uh, man named Jesus that was alive at one time in history, that's neither here nor there. Um, the problem is that many of you have been duped, been deceived, and tricked. And what is very evident if you actually do your research, now, many of you, because you're indoctrinated, will hear this and just balk and uh, backbite and tell me I'm wrong and get offended. But there's nothing I can do about that. Um, you all are going to react the way you're going to react. It doesn't make any difference to me. It's up to me to know the truth for myself, so that I can be set free. And I would hope that you all would have the presence of mind to think critically for yourself and question everything. There is nothing wrong with questioning everything, because if you just go along with what's told to you or taught to you, well, that's a slave mentality. And if that's the case, if you just go along with what you're taught and told, and you don't question everything, if you don't make sure that what you're being taught and told is true, then you deserve the slavery that you're in. You have no one to blame but yourself. And unfortunately, if you look at the ritual of Easter, many quote unquote Christians today uh, actually celebrate fertility uh, gods. They're worshiping fertility gods and performing fertility rituals with the hiding the egg and searching for the eggs and all of these things. This is all rituals regarding fertility, because if you look at this time of year, we're in the spring, and every spring, at the end of winter, there is an explosion of growth and life, fertility. Many of you are so naive and so indoctrinated that you don't even realize what the Bible is actually talking about, because you've been taught wrong. And you haven't had the wherewithal or the presence of mind to question any of this or to actually research it with an open mind. Instead, many of you, like I used to, research these things with a very skewed perspective. And you expect everything to fit into that skew. And if it doesn't, well, it's just incorrect, or it doesn't fit that particular narrative. You see what I'm going there? So when we celebrate things like Easter, see, many people, many Christians, many people that celebrate Easter, whether they call themselves Christians or not, many people don't realize that they're serving the wrong God. I mean, it even says in the book that on that day, there will be many that, that go to God. I can't remember the exact words verbatim, but paraphrasing, of course. And, it states something to the effect of, people will go to God as if they know him, and he will look at them and say that he never knew them and cast them away, because these people were serving the wrong God. If you truly knew what the Bible is referring to, is talking about in the scriptures and the stories and the allegories, you would realize that the Son, S-O-N, of God, is the Son, S-U-N, of God. And what the Bible talks about as far as the crucifixion, the death, the entombment and the resurrection, what you don't realize is that's an allegory explaining the sun in the sky. You know, the bright thing that's up there giving life to all of us down here. Um, that's exactly what this is. And if you trace the origins, I mean, it's right, it's so blatantly obvious. In the stories themselves, and specifically in the Old Testament, it refers to, you know, the children of Israel coming out of Egypt. And when they did that, they took with them a lot of the teachings from Egypt, one of which was sun worship. And these stories have been written in a way, these allegories are written in a way that they can take on multiple meanings for, you know, whatever perspective the reader has. And don't get me wrong, there are some good morals, there are some good standards and ideals to be able to glean from these stories. From, you know, if you take them um, as an actual story of a actual man that lived and experienced certain things, there are some good qualities to be able to glean from the stories. However, the problem is that when people turn that book into an idol in and of itself, and don't even realize the reality that they live in, have been taught a lie, act and promote their slavery. They act like a slave and they promote their own slavery. Um, this is why people are so deceived. You know, many people, there are many people out there that are waiting for Jesus to come back and expect to be quote unquote raptured and taken up into the sky. And, you know, of course, there's a nice, neat little folded pile of clothes left behind. And, you know, they think that they're going to escape the tribulation. But I hate to tell you, if you look around, if you've paid attention for the past 2 years, if you have considered some of the quote unquote conspiracy theories that have actually turned into conspiracy, amazingly enough, when you look at things like Event 201 that happened, well, just before the real thing happened, the real event, the whatever you want to call it. It's interesting that there was a simulation of the exact same thing right before the real world event. There was another instance that happened too, going back, let's see, 21 years, roughly, just over 20 years, to 2001, when a simulation turned into a real world event. Now, I don't want to get too far off topic, but I want you to think about it. You know, your own dogma is what is keeping you back from the truth. Because you think that if you question the Bible, if you question the stories, if you question the word, if you question a pastor or a teacher, well, you know, you're taught that you're going to go to hell, you're a sinner, and you need to repent, and, you know, you're a bad person, and blah, blah, you know, all this ridiculous nonsense. It's all about control and brainwashing and tricking people into accepting the destruction of the world because they think that a savior is going to come back and whisk them away and protect them from it. I hate to tell you, I hate to break it to you, it's never going to happen. Why in the world would anyone, if they had the ability, come and save you from the problems that you've created in your own life? Think about that. You know, there's the old adage or cliche, I'm not sure how to characterize it. You made your bed, you're going to lay in it, or however the phrase goes. They made their bed, you're going to lie in it too. That concept. You reap what you sow. Hey, that's a biblical concept, isn't it? Well, what if you're sowing discord? What if you're sowing brainwashing? What if you're sowing misinformation? Well, that's what you're going to reap. See, many of you don't know the truth. And because of that, you judge people like me. You come across half-cocked and just full of nonsense because you're acting triggered because of your own indoctrination. Because you hear something that's contrary to what you've been taught, and because you don't think it's possible that you've been taught wrong, you believe that what you think is the truth. You can't possibly, have an open mind about it. Well, that is sin. There was only a few commandments that God gave us to go by, to follow. The law, that's what actually is the law. It's God's law, and many of you, unfortunately, don't even realize that you're serving two masters or more. Not to mention the fact that many of you aren't even serving the true living God, the Most High, the Creator. Because you don't even know what reality is. You think the Son of Man is an actual man. So, but don't take my word for it. I will leave a link to some detailed research for you all to consider in the comments. I'll pin it in the comments. And consider it for yourself before you come to my channel, before you come to my recordings and postings and start acting like idiots. I would suggest you try to educate yourself. And I know some of you probably won't. Some of you are just going to, attack me because, well, it makes you feel better. But, I mean, it doesn't really matter to me. I'll deal with it as it comes. But, again, don't take my word for it. Do your own research. Look at the reality around you. Consider things like the movie The Matrix. Now, again, this is an allegory. But consider for a moment that even in the reality, the existence that we're in, that even though it's not a magical world like in the movie where you pick up a phone and you're zapped into some other dimension or something, it's not all cool and neat like that. It's a little more mundane here in reality, and the Matrix is very real. The Matrix, instead of it being external like the movie shows, the concept of the Matrix is internal. It's within our own brains. It's within our own thoughts, our thought patterns, our knowledge. And many times we get trapped in that matrix. Many times I found myself in my youth trapped in that matrix, thinking that I knew reality, but I didn't. I only knew the false reality that I was taught and that I was given, the indoctrination that I was given. That's what I based my reality off of. And it wasn't until I decided to question everything that I began to know the truth and be truly set free. And so I encourage you, every one of you that are listening to this, and even ones that aren't, even ones that don't listen to this, I still encourage them through my spirit. I pray for them that God the Father, the Creator, the true Creator, which, well, I won't get into all that. I pray that that your eyes will be opened, that you'll see the truth, that you will choose freedom over slavery and bondage. Because just because you call yourself a Christian and you go to a building on Sundays and maybe Wednesdays, or you go to a Bible study here and there and talk about the scriptures, doesn't mean you're free. Even if you're baptized, dunked in water and brought out, and you go through that ritual, doesn't mean you're free. It doesn't mean what you think it means. If you look at the true origins of the Bible, the Old Testament and the New, remove yourself from your dogmatic indoctrination, and just for a moment, ask yourself, do I really know the truth? Because many of you all that call yourselves Christians are running around with diapers on your face, cutting yourself off from the Creator, from the breath of God, from the Spirit. Many of you keep yourself locked up in a building or structure to hardly see the light of day, to go out and get any sunshine. It truly is sad. It truly is sad that we as a people are this deceived. But it didn't happen overnight. This has taken generations to get to this point. It really is disappointing to see so many people willing to turn their backs on the true God, the one true God, the Most High. That if any of you would pay attention to our reality, would see. I know for some of you all, it's a little bit difficult to explore past your dogmatic restraints, but it would behoove you to research the sun, the S-U-N, sun. Learn about what the sun does around the winter solstice, around December 21st, approximately every year. And learn about what the sun does, the S-U-N, sun, does, and that time of the year. And consider this as well. Think about that. What do we, not me, but what does most people, what does Christians, most Christians celebrate on December 25th? Well, Christmas, the so-called birth of Christ. Well, that's another it's another situation kind of like Easter, because you don't even realize the truth of your own reality. You think it's about the birth of Christ. But what you don't realize is the rituals that you're performing are actually, in a sense, fertility rituals, because the tree, the upright tree, represents, in many cases, a phallus. And there's just so much more. But I want you all to research it for yourselves. Look into it for yourselves because, I mean, I could tell you what I know, but you'll just deny it. You'll tell me I'm wrong. You'll argue with me and all this other nonsense. And, um, it's all because of the indoctrination. Because you don't know who truly is the Son of God. You've been taught wrong. The rituals that you perform throughout the year, thinking that they're for this, is actually for that. And because of that, you're not serving the true God. You're serving yourself, you're serving someone else's God, or a different God. Because when you look into the origins of these so-called holidays, you would realize that it doesn't have much to do with the Bible. I mean, a lot of Christians talk about Santa on Christmas and how Santa brings gifts, and they compare Santa to Christ, and it's right there in your face, but most people don't even realize it. That's how just stunning it is. It's hidden in plain sight. So I encourage you all to know the truth and let the truth set you free. When you hear this, when this recording's done and you don't hear my voice any longer, you stop listening, walk outside, look up in the sky, look around you, look at nature, look at the creation that's around us. God didn't create this to be destroyed. God created everything around us for our benefit. So then I would ask you, I should say, why is it that you want to destroy this place? Why is it that you want to allow your masters, your slave masters that you are in bondage to willfully, but you don't even know it? Why are you allowing them to destroy God's creation? And it goes much further than using fossil fuels or not using fossil fuels, or all this global warming nonsense is being fabricated. It's being engineered. Look into it. Weather modification systems. There is so much research out there and so much evidence regarding these weather modification systems. And again, it's hidden in plain sight. It's right in our faces. But because many of you are stuck in the matrix, you can't see the forest for the trees. So on this Sunday, I encourage you to learn whom the Son of God actually is. You might just be set free by it. Or not. That's entirely up to you.